record generating net return of 45.57% for your investors. Can you just give some little nugget of how you were able to do that? That's magnificent. I'm like pulling out my checkbook to write you a check with that kind of return.
Becoming a master is not about doing 4,000 things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times.
The Ultimate Sales Machine presents the CEO Mastery Show for entrepreneurs looking to grow faster, better, smarter. If you would like to have a profound breakthrough in your business, talk to our team live by visiting chetholmes.com/breakthrough. Good advice is contextual. Get your answers at chetholmes.com/breakthrough.
Welcome, everybody. Amanda Holmes here, CEO of Chet Holmes International of the CEO Mastery Podcast. I have with me today Don Wenner, who is taking a moment out of his wonderful vacation with his family out in Maui, in Oahu. But I'm so grateful that you're here. So for everybody that's listening, Don is the founder and CEO of DLP Capital. Just at a young, I know he said I'm not that young, but 37 years old, to have had his company. I read on your website that you own about $3 billion in real estate assets as of right now. That's 14,000 housing units. And you've hit the Inc. 5000 list 9 times, also winning best places to work. My mind is blown, Don. It's so magnificent what you've created.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor, a privilege to be here with you today. Super excited to chat with you.
So just for everybody to know, can you share, because I have it written down, but I think it might be better to hear from you, what exactly is DLP Capital? And then we'll move into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So DLP Capital as a firm, as you said, I founded 16 plus years ago now. And what we do is we're an impact investment company focused on investing in workforce housing. And we do so by building a community of really great developers, builders, operators that we partner with, we support, we help them scale their businesses, we lend capital to them, and through helping them grow their businesses focused on creating workforce housing as well as creating jobs. And we like to say happiness. It's allowed us to have pretty tremendous growth in our organization. Actually just found out last week we'll be Inc. 5000 for the 10th straight year, 350 to 5. Yeah, thank you. It's been 350 to 500% growth every 3 years for 17 years now. So it's been a pretty awesome journey that we're just getting started on.
My goodness, I love that. Just getting started. That's even better. So I want to, for everybody that's listening in, we're in such a precipice time with inflation rising and seeing on the brink of another recession. And I was watching one of your interviews where a gentleman complimented you on the fact that you built your business during a time, the last recession, when everybody was running away from real estate, and yet you still managed to sell real estate and happened to do very well at it. So this concept of, and I see it with our best of clients, this is the kind of CEO that when everyone's in panic, when everybody's in fear, when everyone's in rage, they can just discern and look at it with a logical mind and be able to find the opportunities and utilize them when everyone else is in massive panic. So you had called it risk, and looking into risk and how to make risk a reward. Can you share a little bit of that, what it was like when you were during the last recession as you were getting ramped up in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I always think about is, when there's a recession, or volatility is the word I like to use. When there's volatility, there's change going on. It creates great opportunity. And when I think about it, whether it's real estate investing, I'm waiting for the lawn cutting guy to go by, so you have to cut that. So I'll restart there. Sorry.
No problem.
Just about. So when there's risk, or like say volatility in the market, I always think that's a great opportunity. And in any major times of change, and there's always the best managers in any asset class. It could be real estate or any other form of business. I always think of the best managers, the best leadership teams grow market share and grow the organizations much greater through downturns, through times of great change. And it's the ability to be able to see what's going on, be able to stay calm and be able to make clear decisions when many are operating under points of panic and fear. And one of the big reasons we've been able to do that has been that we've focused on building a really disciplined organization. So we call it the 20-mile march, which is a term from Jim Collins about making sure you figure out what are the things that you do that generate results in your organization, making sure you do those things day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of the external market conditions. And when you build that discipline within your organization of knowing what we need to do to generate results, and then build from that the strength to then be confident that we can weather whatever changes, whatever challenges that are coming about, and not only weather them, but be able to capitalize on them, has been a big part of our success. And I started in real estate in October 2006, which in where I grew up and where I started my company in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, October 2006 was the peak of the real estate market that month. That's when homes hit their highest values. And so we built a business on selling real estate through the downturn and buying and renovating and flipping real estate through the downturn, when most people would have thought, well, buying homes and reselling them when property values are declining rapidly would be a really bad idea. But because so few were doing that, it created a lot of great buying opportunities to be able to buy at much, much, much lower prices, significant discounts because of what was going on. And that's often the case what happens. So right now, people say, oh, it's not a good time to buy housing because interest rates have gone up, or because of inflation, or because of this. It often creates the best opportunities to buy, but kind of going against what many believe to be the direction you should go, what everybody else is saying is the correct strategy, is often how significant wealth can be created. Be able to see the opportunity despite the noise and the chaos and fear that gets created.
Absolutely. Wow. Fascinating. There's something happening again in real estate. It's so interesting. So because my organization, we serve so many different industries. I think I shared this with you in our last call, right? That in the same week, like within a 2-week span, I got 5 different companies just like yours knocking on my door saying, hey, I want to talk to you. So something must have just pivoted in the last 30 days or so that has made something different about the real estate market.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a great sign, those who would reach out to an organization like yours when there's times of volatility, thinking, hey, how do I rethink what we do? How do we go about, generating more revenue? How do we go about generating more sales? How do we go about differentiating in this time of chaos? That's a great move, a great sign, because what so many people do is they get afraid and they crawl under the bed and they stop spending money. They fire their sales team. They stop investing. They act out of fear. So that's a great sign that people are calling you and saying, hey, I need to rethink, right? Things are getting harder than maybe they were. There's more confusion, and my sales team doesn't know how to navigate through these difficult conversations right now because of the change that's going on, and we need help. But the big change that's happened, in short, the thing that's caused so much of the fear has been interest rates. So this has been our world today of buying or partnering with or lending money against workforce housing. So that means we build or develop brand new build to rent, single family rental communities, multifamily rental communities, and we also buy or lend against existing. And this has been a business that's been so competitive for so many years now, that's been driven off of very low cap rates, which required really, really low interest rates to be able to make money. So all of a sudden, if you're buying properties at a 4 cap rate, a 4% return without leverage, without a loan, and all of a sudden those interest rates are now higher than 4%, you now get the amortization or negative returns, which doesn't work in almost any environment. And it's created a lot of challenge where people could buy a property at a 4% return and get a loan at 3% and still make sense of it in theory. That's kind of been flipped upside down for a lot of people. And all of a sudden, for the first time in, arguably other than a few weeks of COVID, properties are now trading for less than what the brokers thought they would get. And there's real fear as to, what's going to happen. Is this going to continue, or is the market going to completely, sort of fall off a cliff? Are rates going to keep going up? So there's just a lot of fear that's been created around the easy kind of world that anybody in investing in real estate has sort of been living in for the last number of years, has been sort of shooken up the last month, and that's created a lot of fear and panic and nervousness by many.
Well, I think something that's really powerful about what you do is this concept of community. And especially because of what's going on in our world, right? We just went through a pandemic, and now I'm noticing it in my organization as well. People just want to congregate and come together and find strength in community. And my father used to talk about something called the difference between a strategist versus a tactician. So tactician is solely based on the sale, right? How can I close the sale? How can I close the sale? Versus a strategist that thinks much more outside of the box and thinks about all the different strategic objectives that they want to accomplish, like being positioned as number one in their marketplace, or wanting to create that top of mind awareness so that as soon as somebody that either your client knows, or whether it's like word of mouth, to be able to, that you're the first person that pops up, oh, I want to refer this person as word of mouth. And I think you've done a magnificent job of being that strategist when it comes to cultivating your community of investors and all of the masterminds that you do as well. Can you share a bit of, with the volatility and how it goes, what you've noticed from having such a core group of community and what created that core group of community? Because I think it has something to do around your mission, but I'm curious to hear it from you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, community is a great word for what we've developed. And one of the key parts to building great community is communication. And so when the market kind of nervousness that we just talked about came about these last 30 days, what we immediately started doing was dialing up our level of communication. So our world revolves around two sort of sets of communities that overlap. One is what we call our elite membership community, which is our successful business owners, leaders in the world of housing. So these are real estate developers, builders, operators, managers. And then we look at 50 to 100 companies a part of that group, and that's a few thousand team members or employees. And then our other community so those are the people we're investing money with, we're lending to, we're partnering with, we're helping them scale their business. And the other side of the community for us is the capital that we use to partner with our elite community, is we call our prosperity community, which is about 2,200 families. We like to call them faith-centered wealth creators, but these are generally first-generation wealth creators who invest their capital with us in our funds. And so they're entrusting their money to us in a discretionary manner, that we then go out and use that money to partner with these great operators and lend to them and so forth. So when volatility comes about, like we've experienced the last couple of weeks, what we started doing immediately was starting to ramp up our communication. So having ongoing calls, weekly webinars with both sets of those communities, talking about what's going on in the market. What do we see is going to happen? What's going to happen with interest rates? How is it going to affect property values? What should we be doing? What are the strategies or the approaches? And not just us sharing what we think is going to happen or what we think is the best approach, but getting the members of the community to share what they're seeing, how it's affecting their specific world, because they're in all different parts of the country and different strategies, and getting that collaboration of great operators sharing the risks and opinions and ideas and opportunities they see has been really, really powerful. And we think, going back to when COVID hit and everybody was in an incredible amount of panic in, March of 2020, we started 2 times a week calls with our internal team members, our 400 or 500 team members, meeting every week, talking about how things are affecting our organization. Twice a week, meeting with our membership bases, talking about what's going on with rent collections, what's going on with payments from our borrowers, what's going on with the market, and just giving clear, open, honest communication has been a really key part of what's allowed us to mitigate risk for our last conversation, but also build confidence and build a deep sense of community. And over the last couple of years of going through COVID and the volatility we're going through again now, we put together this list of the 23 C's of risk and all the different risks that we pay attention to and we think are important. And most of these risks that we deal with are internal risks. And the most common internal risk theme is the risk around who you're doing business with, right? Who works in your organization, who are your partners, who you do business with, who you do life with is a big part of the risk we face. And so we put a lot of energy and effort around building a community of like-minded individuals who have clear goals and purpose and meaning to life. And for us, as you sort of were alluding to, we set about 4 areas of impact we want to have as an organization, which are to make a significant difference around the workforce affordability, housing crisis, we call the jobs crisis, which is the fact that so many jobs in America are being displaced due to technology and other forms of innovation. We call the happiness crisis, and what we call the legacy crisis. And So we've set out to leverage our platform of DLP Capital, which has a purpose to dream, live, prosper, passionately creating prosperity through investing in communities, to make a difference on these 4 areas of impact, and doing in deep partnerships with the members of our communities. And by having that kind of calling and aligning ourselves around people within our organization, those that we do business with and we partner with and are part of our community who are aligned in making a significant impact, that allows some pretty amazing things to happen, often much faster than you ever thought was possible.
I love that. For so many people that's listening, right? This fear of, I don't want to talk about what's happening. I just want to kind of shove it under the rug, right? You're saying lean in, double down, get very clear, get very honest. And then also the amount of impact, right? Post-COVID, people just want to make a difference. I mean, ESG has become such a huge topic since, for those that don't know, environmental social governance, right? We've put billions of dollars behind improving the environment, because when the world shut down, it's as if we woke back up and gained a conscience. Like we actually wanted to do something good. And it's part of our generation, at least 6 out of 10 millennials feel personally responsible for making the world a better place. So you see more mission clearly communicated in companies. And I think you do such a magnificent job of that. I mean, as you talk about all of this, well, I'll get to that in a moment. I'm curious then, how does that create the culture? How do you work to the culture within your own organization, as so many are facing difficulties with staff right now? And I've heard that that is a competitive edge to keep you and keep your team and keep a great team. Ooh, you are muted.
Oops. Yeah, it's an incredible challenge right now, an opportunity to build a great engaged culture. And I'll just take a step back for a second. So we do these events around these 2 communities we talked about a moment ago, and so our next one coming up is in Asheville, North Carolina, and a lot of these events we have a whole bunch of different groups of people at the same venue. So at the same venue, we'll have the operators, partners, developers that we invest with, the ones that we're currently partnered with at the event. We'll have those who are prospective partners, operators, members at the event. We'll have the members who invest with us, our prosperity members who invest their capital with us at the event. We'll have prospective investors at the event. We'll have our existing team members. We'll have prospective team members or employees at the same event. And one of the important things for us is the transparency that we can have all these same people sitting at literally the same tables at the same event, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to curate it. We don't have to worry about what one group's going to say to another or how it's going to make us look. We can be completely transparent with who we are, because who we say we are is who we actually are. Who we say we are to one group of people is exactly who we say we are to another group of people. And that transparent to who we are and how we operate and what we're willing to talk about, like you just said, we openly talk about, what are the challenges we're dealing with, what's going on in the market, what are the headwinds we're facing. We're also open in talking about, example, our faith and all the things that are often thought to be, taboo, or you don't want to talk about, you want to avoid. We find the more transparent and open we are, the better and easier we're able to operate, and the faster we're able to navigate change, because we're not worrying about what we have to pretend to do or what face we have to put on. We're just being who we are. And so I'll say that transparency and openness to what we do and who we are and why we do what we do is very freeing, and it's a big part of the culture we've developed and what attracts great people to want to come work here in the organization, attracts great people to want to partner with us and be a part of our community. And so we've done a lot of effort around building out a set of values for our organization. People call, of course, core values, and we have more core values than probably most organizations should have. We have 10 of them, but we genuinely live those 10 core values, and those core values are used to screen, who we invite into our organization, who we do business with, so we're looking for people. Example, some of our core values are, driven for greatness, which means people who seek knowledge, they're curious, they want to learn, they want to grow. We have a core value of grit, which is from Angela Duckworth, a passion, perseverance towards long-term goals. We have a core value of the 20-mile march, which we talked briefly about earlier. And we have a core value of delivering wow, of having positive enthusiasm, people who are half glass full, excited to be alive, jump out of bed kind of people. And the way I always think about values and how you build great culture is a quote by Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks many years ago. He was asked in an interview, how do you get people at Starbucks to smile so much? And he said, well, it's really simple. I hire people that like to smile. And it was such a simple explanation to how you build culture, but that's what we try to do is we hire people. We don't try to think, hey, we're going to get people to be more curious and more driven when they come here, more gritty. Yes, those things will happen. People do change. We believe in growth mindset that people can change and improve, but we want to attract people already fit our organization. We have a simple rule here at DLP of the chug test, which is, is this somebody if you were, stuck at an airport with, would you want to, sit down and have a beer with, right? And I try to think about that. Every person we hire or we partner with, would I want to have to, sit next to this person for 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week, or even go get a beer with after work? And that simple mindset of, having no a-holes, only having people that are aligned with your organization is really powerful. And you do that, it takes effort and time, but when you do that and you don't sacrifice, you don't make excuses because this person has so much talent or experience or whatnot, and you only allow people who fit your values into your organization, then it starts building upon itself, and those people build upon and create that culture that every organization really wants. And the biggest thing I can ever do when I'm looking to hire somebody or bring in a new member of one of our communities is just simply get them into my office or to one of my events to spend the time with the people in our organization. And if they spend time, I don't have to curate it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to walk them down one hallway and not another. And I just let them spend time with the type of people in the organization, type of people we do business with. If they're the right type of person we're looking for, if they're fit for our culture, they're sold. Nothing else needs to be done. But that takes a lot of time and effort, and sometimes it forces you to have to make hard decisions when something comes to that counter to your culture, counter to your values, even if it's making you a lot of money, or even if it's good for business on the short term. Being willing to sacrifice, sort of be willing to, I like to say, die on a cross for those values is what makes them really core values.
I love that. And I felt that as soon as I met some of your team, when I met Patrick, and then when I talked with Claudia, and that's why it seemed like such a great fit to come and speak at your events. I can't wait. So you'll give us a link of how people can find these events, or do they go to dlpcapital.com?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to dlpcapital.com, and it's dlpcapital.com/events. But you can click on the events tab and you can see all the upcoming events. Our next one's July 20th, 22nd in Asheville, North Carolina. The events focus around how to 10x your business in the next 5 years. And that's an area we have great expertise in. We've grown our organization by 60% or more every single year for 16, now just about to be 17 straight years, 10 years in a row, one of the 5,000 fastest growing companies. And it's what I wrote a book on called Building an Elite Organization, How to Scale a High Growth, High Profit Business. And that's the center of what our elite membership, where we partner with other developers, operators, builders, all about helping people scale a great organization. And that's what this event's going to be all about. And then there's some other great events coming up later this year, some smaller, more mastermind type events you can find on that same website, dlpcapital.com/events. And our big event coming up, which I know you're also going to be joining us at, it's going to be in November. I think it's the 9th to the 12th of November in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And this one's a little different, albeit we're going to have some focus around scaling a business. It's more focused on personal development. Specifically, it's on longevity, health, and wellness. And we have, if for anybody who's read Tony Robbins' recent The Lifespan, which I think has been the #1 best-selling book in America the last 2 months in a row, there's a ton of phenomenal, world-renowned doctors and scientists featured in that book. People like the actual real author of the book, Bob Harari, who's really the mind behind the book Lifespan. He'll be one of our speakers, and many of the other speakers, Dr. G, who's a Nobel Prize winning expert on stem cells, regenerative stem cell therapy, all kinds of incredible experts. I've been telling people for years that part of my tool we have called Personal Compass, part of my personal compass, and that's something we're actually going to teach on at the event, is that I'm going to live to 150. And people genuinely laugh when I say I'm going to live to 150, and they always think, oh, that's funny, or that's cute or silly or whatnot. Don't think that I'm serious, and I am. I believe I'm going to live to 150, God willing. But I believe when people come to this event, they're going to believe they too can live to 150. When you understand what's going on in the world of longevity and reversing aging, it's pretty amazing stuff. So it's going to be a great event coming up this November.
I love it. And I'm speaking of both of them. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. Come and check it out.
Yes, it is.
I am curious. I also saw from my little digging around on you that last year you helped have a record generating net return of 45.57% for your investors. Can you just give some little nugget of how you were able to do that? That's magnificent. I'm like pulling out my checkbook to write you a check with that kind of return.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, so we have, as I mentioned before, 2,200 families invested with us now and growing. And that's what we do is we serve, families who want to invest into real estate and earn great returns while making a positive impact. And I'll start with saying our return targets are not 45%. We've been generating great returns for investors for about a dozen years now. We've exceeded return targets every single month in every single fund, double-digit returns in every period in all of our funds for 12 years. But last year was incredibly good. And I'll start with saying first, it was an incredible market for sure. Lots of positive market conditions that helped. But at the end of the day, we believe our approach, which is to invest in what we think has the greatest impact and the greatest need, which is workforce housing, but also has been proven time and time again to be one of the safest places to be, which is to be in an area where we have the greatest undersupply of housing in America today ever. There's never, ever been a time in history than today that we have more housing units that we're short of to meet current demand. It's about 5.4 million housing units short. Almost every market in the country, but certainly most of the southern half of the country, there is incredible more demand than there is affordable housing. And so we focus on investing in housing that is affordable for the local workforce, your teachers, your social workers, your police officers, et cetera. And there's just anywhere you're listening in to this podcast, I'm sure in your market you're seeing there's not enough housing. People can't find a safe, affordable place to live. So that's what we invest in, and by staying fundamentally sound to finding and extracting value when there's volatility, finding an approach to find value. So example, coming out of COVID, we saw a lot of student housing operators get hurt pretty bad due to universities getting shut down.
Right.
And so a lot of them went into default on their loans. But we saw that none of these owners of student housing properties nor their lenders thought of these properties as being available to rent to non-students as well. So example, we bought a community in Houston, Texas, that was built in 2017. It was only rented to students, and it only had 50% occupancy. It was in what's called receivership with the lender. But it was in a market that had 98% occupancy for the regular housing of families of non-students. So, and fundamentally, it's the same real estate, it's the same properties, the apartments are the same. So we bought the property and took it from just being renting to students to renting it to students and non-students, anybody who can afford to pay rent and needs a safe place to live. And have driven that from 50% occupancy up to 90+% and essentially doubled the value. And so we bought a bunch of properties. That way nobody else at least we came across was buying student housing properties and saying, hey, these make great properties for working families. And that's the way we found some distress when nobody else or not many people were thinking about that opportunity. So that's what we often do is we find ways to extract value in a competitive environment and be able to create sort of outsized returns. So last year, our property values increased by over 20%, and we generated over 25% realized returns from cash flow from operating our properties, which was awesome. So the return target's 12%. We hit 45%. We're at 30+% since we launched the fund a few years back, net to investors on an annual basis.
Wow. That is just magnificent. I find it fascinating how you've incorporated all parts of life, from faith to health can you share a bit about when you decided to open up? And because I'm also getting from everything that you're saying, this theme of transparency and honesty and, impact and mission. So it all kind of comes back to this whole person approach. Can you share a bit about when you decided to start opening up? And was there a time when you wouldn't really talk about your faith, and then all of a sudden you said, okay, fine, I'm going to talk about it now? I'm curious as we all go along our own journeys.
Yeah, it's an awesome question. And so we've developed over the years, we sort of finalized this maybe 5 years ago, this terminology. So we call one of our core values is living fully. And so we define living fully as achieving our goals, as succeeding in all areas of life. And we've defined life as 8 F's of life, which are faith, family, friends, freedom, fun, fulfillment, fitness, and finance. And I believe in, I'm in some organizations like Tiger 21 as an example, which is a group of about 1,000 members around the country with an average net worth of $50 to $100 million, right? And I'm part of some other groups that are even higher net worth averages. And my point of saying that is I know a lot of really, really wealthy, unhappy people, right? And, people who've succeeded in the area of business, but have failed in the area of fatherhood, of faith, of family in many ways. And so to me, I learned early on that, real success was to be able to grow and achieve everything you want in business while not sacrificing any of the other areas of life, the more important areas of life. And what my good friend and mentor, Lloyd Reed, the co-founder of Halftime Institute, likes to say is, don't sacrifice what's priceless for what's merely valuable. And there's not a lot of life that's really priceless, and usually for most of us, it starts with our family. So another great kind of way to think about it is, people ask me, the number one question people ask me all the time is, how do you balance your time, right? Time management, right? That's the top topic people are always thinking about, and everybody thinks of it as work-life balance. And I've been saying for years, work-life balance is an outdated way of thinking. And Jeff Bezos came out just last year and said that he thinks the term work-life balance is a debilitating term. That life isn't about a balance; it's more like a circle. And so we've been using the term work-life integration for years, and we developed a really cool tool we call the personal compass, which is the 8 F's. Kind of think of across a compass, a circle. And anybody who's listening can go to dlpelite.com and you can click on free resources and download this personal compass and some other cool tools. But so in this personal compass, we lay out life across these 8 F's and set goals, long-term and down to very short-term 90-day goals around achieving success in all 8 of these areas at the same time. One of the key pieces to that is every year we have a living fully dashboard, which is having at least 1 or 2 clear goals across each 8 F's of life, each F of life. And when you're achieving success in all those areas at the same time, the level of fulfillment and happiness and satisfaction that comes out of life, your perception on your own life, goes up dramatically. And that's what we put a lot of focus on. And focus being the key word there, that people get confused about work-life integration or about achieving a lot of things at the same time as multitasking. And the key is being able to be fully focused and present in whatever you're doing. So as you said at the start of this, I'm in Oahu right now. I'm in Hawaii on a family vacation right now, but I get up every day here at 3:30 and I work from 3:30 till 10, 11 in the morning here in Hawaii time, which is from 9:30 to 5 o'clock Eastern time, which is where time zone my company operates on, right? So it's my way of being able to stay fully focused, be here, get all my work done in the morning. But then the rest of the day, I'm going to be out and enjoying time with my family, and I'm here with friends and doing things. That's work-life integration, right? That's how I'm able to go from San Diego to all the islands here in Hawaii to Yellowstone to Grand Tetons to then meet you in Asheville for our event and be gone for 30 days, but stay on top of all the important things in the organization and have some unbelievable, incredible experiences with my family, which our family BHAG right now is 1,000 extraordinary days in 100 different places. And so this travel and exploration is a big deal to us, but my company can't just stop for me to go travel for a month, or I'm not at the point today with all things that are going on that I can just check out for a month, but I can integrate my business in with my life here. It doesn't have to feel like it's one sacrificing for the other. As long as I'm very present here as I'm working, and then I'm going to be very present this afternoon with my kids. And a lot of people will do is they'll feel guilty and say, oh, I need to get home at 5:30 to spend time with my family, and they get home to have dinner with their family, but they're on their phone that entire time. And even though they're there, they're not accomplishing anything because they're not present there with their kids. And I'd rather have an hour and a half of very present time with my children than to be at home all day but not at all acknowledge them, right? So this integration of all the areas of life has been a big part of how I've been able to build this organization as CEO and build this leadership team while feeling I'm not nearly as good of a CEO as I am as a father. I don't know, my wife, I'll tell you if I'm as good of a husband as a CEO, but very, very engaged into kind of part of your question in my faith and this confidence in sharing my approach to life. And everybody in my organization sees my personal compass, all of my investors, all of my partners. I fully share all of my goals, all of my progress on achieving my goals, my full perspective on how I'm living my life, to both hold me accountable, to create transparency, and hopefully, create some inspiration and motivation for others to realize, they can accomplish a lot more than they might have thought possible. Have multiple obsessions and passions around life's a good thing. And you don't have to say, I'm going to take the next 10 years and focus on my career, and then later I'll be a good father, or later I'll take care of my body, or later I'll have time for the Lord. And so it's been certainly an evolution. I wasn't as confident in sharing all the intimate details of my life or my faith earlier on in my career. And what I found, the more I've been willing to be transparent and open and honest, the more people have appreciated it, and the more, been able to flourish. And kind of last note on that, I gave a keynote speech a little bit ago at an organization called GoBundance. And I spoke at, I think it was 8:00 at night is when I started. And I got done at, 8:45 at night. And then they had me do this charity raffle thing where I raffled off some different vacations at some of our beach houses and then time with me. And anyway, by the time we got done, it was 10:00 at night. And they said afterwards, they said, Don's going to go over into this area and he's going to sign his book. And if you want to get, your book signed by Don, go over there, following in a couple minutes, right? And I'm thinking, all right, 10:00 at night, there's a bunch of generally young guys. Nobody's going to come stand in line to get a book signed, right? So I go and walk over there, and there was 350 people maybe in the audience, and 340 stood in line to get a book signed. And what was meaningful about it was not that anybody stood. I mean, it's amazing that they were that engaged and wanting to be better people and learn. But what was amazing is that by far the number one comment people said to me 10 times more than anything else is, wow, I love your openness to your faith. And I hear that was the first kind of big time I heard that. And I've been to even bigger audiences giving kind of talks, and I always am giving credit to the Lord and talking about my faith. And that's what people constantly say to me. People say things like to me, like, I wish I was as confident to do that, or it's so great to see somebody willing to give credit and talk about their faith. So I've never yet had somebody, I'm sure that maybe the 10 people who didn't stand in line were like, man, I can't stand this guy talking about his Christian beliefs. But I can tell you that, people give me pats on the back for that more than anything else I say or do. So for those who aren't confident in doing it, know that, people do appreciate it and be confident in doing it. Because there's nothing greater we can do, right? If I can teach somebody how to scale a business or teach them how to live a more fulfilled life, that's all wonderful. But if I can help somebody to connect to the Lord and build a relationship and find Christ, that there's no greater accomplishment I can have on this earth. So accepting that responsibility as a leader, as a thought leader, somebody that people want to listen to or will listen to, of credibility in their eyes, is a huge opportunity.
I think that's also the difference between pre-internet and post-internet. So today you can cultivate a group of people that are like-minded, unlike ever before. We can niche down to, stay-at-home moms that take care of their children, yet also want to do a side business. And here they are. And there's a group of hundreds of thousands of them that are women that want to do just that. Or I'm finding that as well, that the more that I share about my own experience, which mine is very unique. I studied under an Indian saint. I was bald for 5 years. Like, it's not a normal thing. It kind of look like I wear robes. So, but the more that I share, I find the more that I attract more like-minded people. Like, the reason why we're talking and why I'm speaking at your event and we're creating this relationship is because I spoke at an event where one of your staff was, and what really sold him was that we were able to get my nonprofit a booth or a nonprofit that I work with very deeply around mental wellness. And he was like, oh, it's a match. We've got to meet up because of everything that you're doing. So it's even more gratifying to look around and realize, wow, when I actually am honest about what lights me up and what my core values are, people will flock to that. And then you'll look around one day and just go, wow, I have people that have similar core values. And that's so gratifying and uplifting that you can come together and everybody can lift each other up.
That's awesome feedback. And I'll just say one last kind of comment on that. So one of the 4 crises we're focused on is we call the happiness crisis. And, people probably aren't surprised to hear this. We have the highest levels of unhappiness and depression ever in America today, right? So incredible level of unhappiness. And I believe that the genesis or the main fundamental issue is people having a lack of connection and connection to a purpose or a meaning, bigger than themselves. And I believe that purpose, the meaning that people are looking for and missing in most cases is a relationship with the Lord, and that there's no replacement, that you can't replace that through social media or any of these ways that people are out searching for this meaning or connection to life. But in addition to that, which is directly tied in, people want to be a part of something of a purpose here on earth that's bigger than themselves. And I believe as leaders of organizations, that's our responsibility to have a purpose in our organization, to have a meaning to our company that your team members, your employees, your clients can feel a part of and can give them that feeling of being connected to a goal, to a mission that's bigger than themselves. Everybody's out looking for that. And I believe, again, that's our job as leaders to first make it clear that the biggest connection, the most important connection is with the Lord. But second to that, to create an organization that has meaning and values that people can feel a part of and give meaning and value to their life because of the contributions they can clearly see that they're having towards accomplishing the goals of the organization or moving towards the purpose.
Oh, I think we could talk about this for hours, just this topic right here. I do know, because, I run a market research firm, that this is the first time in history of the United States where so it's always been the majority that went to church, institutional church. And this is the first time in history where it's less than the majority. It's still only about 46%, but 46% of the US population goes to church now. And that decline of institutional religion is breaking down. It's in a decline, and it is part of, SMBs. It's part of the smaller businesses that house 90% of the workforce in America, where it's our moral obligation to uphold values. And, if we're seeing it as a deterioration of our own institutionalized, because church was the place that you would go to find out, these are the things that are good and these are the things that you should work on and stay away from. And now all we have is social media. So I fear for the younger generations, but I'm uplifted and in a positive place to see people like you as a leader that can stand for that and uphold that within core values. I have some other companies that I'm really proud to be a part of. J-Mark out of Missouri. They're one of the largest IT managed services companies in the United States. And I love how they carry out this belief system of let's fill that void and stand for truth and honesty and morality. And if we can carry that within our organizations, it'll trickle down. So.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
Well, Don, it's been such a pleasure. Can you say your book again? I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. What's your book that everybody can pick up?
Building an Elite Organization.
And you can find it anywhere.
Yep, Amazon. You can go to dlpelite.com, but Amazon, Audible, Libro, anywhere you get books. Yep. And then the next one's coming out in August will be Building an Elite Career. So more written for those building their career, not the owner of the organization or senior leader of the organization. We have Building an Elite Organization is the one that's out now and focused on the subtitle is How to Scale a High Growth, High Profit Business.
Great. And for those of you that are interested, you should get on a plane, go to Asheville. So this will come out. It'll be the week after this launches, or make sure you can get in for November. It's going to be, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Don.